Hello everyone, my name is Abhinav, and in this video, I will walk you through a simple student management system built using Java Spring for the user interface, JDBC for database connectivity, and Supabase as the backend database. Let's understand how these technologies work together, starting with Java Swing. Java Swing is used to build the front end of the application, meaning all the visual components like forms, buttons, and tables that the user interacts with. It is a lightweight GUI framework that uses Java's own rendering system instead of native OS components, making it platform independent. It follows an event-driven architecture where user actions such as button, clicks trigger specific operation. All updates are handled through a single thread called the event dispatch thread, which ensures consistent and controlled interaction with the application. Moving on to the JDBC, it is responsible for connecting the Java application to the database. It acts as an abstraction layer that allows the Java programs to interact with relational database using a standard API. JDBC works through a driver-based system where requests from the application are translated into database-specific operations. It manages tasks like establishing connections, executing queries, and retrieving results while also supporting transaction control for maintaining data consistency. Finally, Supabase serves as the database layer of the system. It is built on PostgreSQL, so it follows the relational database structure with tables, rows, and relationships. In addition to storage, Supabase provides an API layer security through row-level policies and real-time data updates. This allows the application to access and manage data efficiently without handling complex backend infrastructure. So overall, Java Swing handles the user interface, JDBC manages communication with the database, and Supabase stores and manages the data, forming a complete application architecture. First, let me explain how I structured the UI using Java Swing. My application is divided into multiple frames like login, dashboard, and different management screens. The login screen is the entry point where the admin comes in, enters the admin details, which is the username and the password. And after successful login, it navigates to the dashboard. From there, users can open different modules like student, marks, and attendance. For layout, I use different layout managers, which is the border layout for the main screen, grid layout for forms, and grid layout for buttons and sections. Then talking about event handling logic, whenever a button is clicked, it triggers an event using an action listener. For example, when the user clicks on add student button, it calls a method that performs multiple steps. First, it checks the input, then it creates the student object, and after that, it sends the data to the database. Finally, it refreshes the UI and clears the form. Then talking about the database design, I've created four tables for the application. The first table being the admin table where the admin credential, which is the username and the password of the credential admin is stored. The second table is the students table where the details of the student, which are the roll number, the name, date of birth, gender, phone number, address, and course is stored along with the created at timestamp. I've also used constraints such as primary key and not null to maintain data consistency. Then the other two tables are the marks table and the attendance table, which stores the marks details of the individual students and also the attendance for the individual students. The marks table and the attendance table is linked to the student table using the foreign key where I've linked the roll number of the student to the roll number of marks in the marks table and roll number in the students table so that the data consistency is maintained throughout. And talking about the JDBC connection, to connect my application to database, I used JDBC. I created a separate configuration class where I defined the database URL, username, and password, which is yeah, here. So these are the database credential which I need to connect with the Supabase, the string URL, the string user, and the password. When the application run, the PostgreSQL driver is loaded, which is stored in the lib folder. This is the jar file in the lib folder is the PostgreSQL driver. A connection is established using the driver manager, and this connection is reused by DAO classes to execute queries. So as you can see, this is the simple dashboard where you can see total students added are 4, active courses, and the system state is active. The four main features provided are the manage students, the manage marks, and the manage attendance, and a simple logout button to go back to the the login page. In the manage students page, the admin can come and enter the marks and enter the student details. Now let me add a student to show you how it works. So let me add a student with the roll number 005. Name is Martin. Phone number and gender you can choose from the Dropbox. Phone number and course from the available options and address and add student. And the student is added successfully. And on a quick refresh, the student Martin is reflected in the table. I can also update each student, delete each student, and also search student by their roll number or partial name. I also support partial search in the applications. For example, if I search Smith and click search, Jane Smith and Harry Smith is shown. And if I even search with CS001 and then search the, the record with CS001 student is shown. I can also update the student record by selecting a student. So if I just click on a student such as Harry Smith, I can change the details, anything. I can change the address from 23 Avenue Street to 24 Avenue Street and update. And then you can see student update successfully. And the address of Harry Smith is changed from 23 to 24 Avenue Street. I can also delete a record. So if I just click on Harris Smith and click delete and the record is deleted. Yeah, the record is deleted and on a quick refresh, the updated table is shown. The second feature is the manage marks feature, where the marks of three subjects in this application, which I have supported as mathematics, science, and English. So the marks of these three subjects are shown. So first, you can only enter the marks of students which are already in the database, and you cannot enter the marks of students which are not in database. So for example, if I try entering a marks which is not in database, for example, 23CS008, and I enter some marks and then add marks, it should show fail to add marks because yeah, it shows fail to add marks because the roll number 23CS008 is not currently in the database. So we only use the students which are currently in database. So now we'll add the marks of Martin with USN CS 005, mathematics marks 90, 39, English is 78, and add marks. And now the marks added successfully because the student with roll number 20, CS005 was in the database. I can also update marks by selecting the record and updating the marks. So let's update marks of roll number CS005 from of science from 89 to 92 and then update marks. Then as you can see, the science marks updated from 89 to 92. The third feature is the attendance feature where the admin comes and enters the attendance whether the student is present or absent for that particular class or for that particular day. So let me mark attendance for CS005 for this for current date, present, and then mark attendance. The attendance marked successfully, and on a quick refresh, yeah, as you can see, the student with roll number 20 CS005 is marked present. And the last feature is the logout feature, which just takes you back to the login page. Now, talking about the data flow, whenever the user clicks on the add student button, which is when a button click is triggered, first the method is called. For example, let me show you in the code. Whenever a button is, when the add student button is clicked, it calls the add student function, which is defined in the code. So whenever the button is clicked, it calls the add student function, which is here. So first it checks the input, whether the input is proper, validated or not. After that, a object is created. After the object is created, the add student function present in the student DAO class is called, which is here. The add student function present in the student DAO class. So first, now since we want to enter the student details, so we write the insert command of the SQL and store it in SQL variable, and then we try to establish connection from the database config file. So this tries to establish connection from the Supabase credential which I have given, and once the connection is established, it stores all the details of the students. The pstmt.setString adds the student's roll number, name, the gender, phone number, address, and courses. Now, all these functions, that is a get roll number, get name, value, and gender, are taken from the student class, which is stored in the student file. So this is the student class, and all the functions, the get roll number, the get name, the get date of birth, all this function sends the data back to the PSTM string, which adds the data into the database. So this was a simple working and the data flow of simple student management system. Thank you for watching.